Want a glass of vodka? Have you got that?
Yes, madam.
Are you sure? Maybe you should write it
A
down.
glass of ice water is a glass of vodka.
What's a glass of ice water?
Vodka.
Ice water.
Vodka.
Ice.
Vodka.
Well, that's settled then. One less thing to do. Underling.
Yes, madam.
Might I please have a glass of ice water? I found our meeting with the pastry chefs rather trying, and I would enjoy a nice, refreshing glass of ice water.
Your ice water, madam.
That was pure vodka, you poop!
I hate this scene.
Now I really do need a glass of ice water.
A glass of ice water, madam?
Yes, ice water. Are you going deaf?
Would that I were.
You can see where this is going, can't you? It's really just a series of spit takes.
Your ice water, madam.
That was pure vodka, you poop!
You know, in some ways the Drowsy Chaperone was quite progressive. A Sicilian actress playing the aviatress, for instance.
Your ice water, madam.
That was pure vodka, you poop!
Yes, some elements were quite progressive. Others were stale in 1928. You know what, I'm just gonna skip ahead.
Your ice water, madam.
Where do you think you're going?
Find some lime juice, madam.
Lime juice? For heaven's sake, why?
I'm going to wring out my eyebrows and make myself a gimlet.
You're probably asking yourself, what was a scene like that doing in the show? It's all quite simple, really. There's a song coming up. They needed to allow for a set change. It's mechanics. It's like pornography. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. You see, in adult films, the storyline is simplistic, like, how do I pay for this pizza? Well, that's the classic example. You see, in musical theater, like adult films, the story exists only to connect the longer, more engaging production numbers. Well, what? What kind of society do we live in that we can't discuss the similarities between adult films and musical theater?
In a few hours, I'm going to be Mrs. Robert Martin. Oh, my head is spinning.
Yes, life is a mad whirlwind. Now, this is a really interesting scene. It's the only time in the show that Jane Roberts and Beatrice Stockwell are alone on stage together. Jane Roberts was an emerging star, but Beatrice Stockwell was already well established and a force to contend with.
I'm so full of apprehension, but I suppose that's normal considering the circumstances. Have you ever been married, Chaperone?
No, I drink for pleasure, not out of necessity.
Your ice water, madam. We're fresh out of olives.
Doesn't matter.
Have you ever been married, Underling?
Heavens no, madam. If I'm to serve a woman, I prefer to be paid for my efforts.
Oh no, I get that shit.
Oh, you two. I know it seems crazy to give up a successful career to marry a man I hardly know, but somehow, for some reason, when I look into his eyes, his big, monkey eyes, I get all boozy, and that's love, isn't it?
Not necessarily. The wooziness could be caused by any number of things. For example, I'm woozy right now, and I'm certainly not in love.
Now, Beatrice Stockwell was famous for her rousing anthems. She entertained and inspired the troops in every major world conflict, up to and including the Falklands War. Of course, by that time, she was in her late 80s, and her anthems didn't so much rouse as stupefy. But still, she demanded that a rousing anthem be included in any show she ever did, even if it wasn't appropriate. But you just couldn't say no to her, and that's star power.
Really, you're not being the least bit helpful. Couldn't you at least allay my fears with a few choice words of inspiration?
Inspiration? Really, dear, that's not my forte.
Well, yes, but if you could just...
As we stumble along on life's fun journey, as we stumble along into the blue, we look here and we look there, seeking answers anywhere, never sure where to turn or what to do. Still we rumble our way through life's crazy labyrinth, barely knowing left from right, nor right from wrong. And as long as we can hear that little blue bird, there'll be a song as we stumble along.
Well, that was quite... Well, that was quite nice. But I don't see how it pertains to my situation.
Let me explain.
Oh, really? That's not necessary. I suppose I was just looking for a sympathetic friend to confide in.
It's a dismal little world in which we live. It can bore you till you've nothing left to give. 7 overrated wonders, 7 underwhelming seas, 6 excruciating continents, Antarctica, oh please.
Antarctica, oh please.
Still you mustn't let it lick yours plant, oh so bland. Keep your eyeball on the highball in your hand. As we stumble along, cross lines crowded dance floor, as we push and we shove, we live and we learn.
was quite inspiring, chaperone, but I'm still conflicted. Please just tell me, is Robert the man for me?
My dear, that's something you'll have to find out for yourself.
But I just don't know if he loves me.
Why don't you ask him? Why don't you ask him, Roger, do you love me?
It's Robert. And besides, I'm not allowed to see him. In fact, it's your job to keep me away from him.
You're right. And I take that responsibility very seriously. However, just this moment, I'm feeling terribly drowsy. I think I have to have a little lie down. Now, whatever you do, don't go wandering through the garden to seek out your fiancé, to ask him the question upon which your future happiness depends.
Oh, thank you, chaperone. I just have to know if he loves me.
Such a skinny little fool. Still, I envy her. Oh,